The year is 1081. We're in the bustling port of a place where history is being forged, not with swords on a battlefield, but with hammers, saws, and an unyielding vision. The air is thick with the scent of freshly cut pine and oak, mingling with the salty temps of the Aegean Sea. This isn't just another shipyard. This is the birthplace of a new maritime power, the cradle of the very first Turkish navy. Imagine the scene. All around, the rhythmic sounds of construction fill the air. Hammers striking iron, saws cutting through massive logs, the shouts of workers echoing across the harbor. Galleys, the warships of their time, are taking shape. Their skeletal frames rise from the docks, promising future dominance over the waves. Piles of timber lie ready, the raw material of ambition. In a nearby blacksmith shop, glowing hot iron is being hammered into anchors and heavy chains, the very things that will hold these future behemoths steady in foreign waters. And at the heart of it all stands one man, Keykubad. We see him now, standing proudly on the prow of the first completed warship. The sun glints off the polished wood of his new vessel. He's not just a bey, a chieftain of the land. He's a visionary. His gaze is fixed on the endless blue of the Aegean, and in his eyes, we see not just the reflection of the sea, but a burning passion for exploration, for conquest, for freedom. This ship, and the many more being built around it, represent the materialization of a dream that will change the course of history. Look closer at the details of this monumental effort. On tables nearby, parchments are spread out, showing intricate shipbuilding designs, a blend of captured knowledge and innovative Turkish engineering. Women are hard at work, their needles flying as they sew immense sails, the very lungs that will catch the wind and propel these ships to glory. And over there, the first Turkish sailors, men of the steppes learning the ways of the sea. They practice tying knots, handling ropes, and preparing for a life utterly different from anything they've known before. This is a complete societal shift, a pivot from land to sea. Before this moment, the Seljuk Turks were a formidable land power. They had swept across Anatolia, defeating the mighty Byzantine army at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071. But the sea was the domain of the Byzantines, the Venetians, the Genoese. The Aegean was, for all intents and purposes, a Byzantine lake. To challenge this was to challenge the established order of the world. Keykubad was no ordinary Turkish leader. Originally a commander in the Seljuk army, he was captured by the Byzantines and taken to Constantinople. There, he didn't just languish as a prisoner. He observed. He learned. He saw the immense power that control of the seas gave the Byzantine Empire. He understood its politics, its military strategies, and most importantly, its naval vulnerabilities. When he eventually escaped and carved out his own domain centered in Izmir, he knew exactly what he needed to do. He would not be contained by the land. He would meet the Byzantines in their own element. And so, in 1081, the construction began. It was an audacious plan. He gathered shipwrights, craftsmen, and laborers. He used the rich timber resources of the Anatolian coast. He established a fleet from scratch, creating a force that the world had never seen before. A Turkish navy. The fleet he built was not just a collection of transport vessels. It consisted of swift galleys, biremes, and triremes, designed for raiding and naval combat. It was a fleet built for a purpose. To project power across the Aegean. From the prow of his flagship, Keykubad wasn't just looking at the water. He was looking at the islands shimmering in the distance: Lesbos, Chios, Samos. To him, they were not just specks on the horizon. They were stepping stones. They were the keys to unlocking the Aegean, to breaking the Byzantine naval stranglehold, and to creating a new maritime empire. The hammer blows we hear are the heartbeats of this new ambition. Every plank laid, every nail driven, was an act of defiance against centuries of Byzantine naval supremacy. Soon, this fleet would be put to the test. In the years following its creation, Keykubad launched a series of stunningly successful campaigns. He captured island after island, raiding Byzantine coastlines, and defeating their fleets in open battle. He proved that the Turks were not just masters of the horse and bow, but could also become masters of the ship and sail. He even declared himself emperor, a direct challenge to the authority in Constantinople. His actions sent shockwaves through the Byzantine Empire, which was forced to reckon with a new and unpredictable naval threat on its doorstep. The symbolic power of this moment cannot be overstated. The prow of the ship represents new beginnings, the spirit of exploration and venturing into the unknown. The timber symbolizes the raw, natural strength of Anatolia being harnessed for a new purpose. The sounds of labor signify progress, the tireless work required to turn a dream into reality. And the deep blue of the Aegean itself is a dual symbol, the ultimate freedom of the open sea, and the ultimate prize to be conquered. The sails, still being stitched, represent the coming struggle, the art of maneuvering against the unpredictable winds of fate and war. Keykubad's story, however, is also a tragedy. His ambition and success made him a threat not only to the Byzantines but also to his own Seljuk relatives. The Byzantine Emperor Alexios Komnenos, a master of diplomacy and intrigue, skillfully turned Keykubad's Sunni law. In 1095, Keykubad was treacherously murdered at a banquet hosted by his own son. With his death, his independent maritime state collapsed, and his fleet was largely destroyed or absorbed. It might seem like his dream died with him, but it didn't. The seed had been planted. Keykubad had proven that Turkish power could extend to the sea. He created the first generation of Turkish seafarers and shipbuilders. He lit a fire that would smolder for centuries before bursting into a magnificent flame. The legacy of this shipyard in Izmir, of these very ships being built before our eyes, is immense. This endeavor laid the foundation for all future Turkish maritime activity. Other Turkish beyliks along the Anatolian coast would follow his example, building their own fleets and challenging Christian naval powers in the Mediterranean. Most importantly, this legacy would be inherited by the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans, as they rose to power, understood the critical importance of naval strength, an understanding that began right here with Keykubad. The great Ottoman admirals, like Barbarossa, Hayreddin, Pasha, who would one day make the Mediterranean an Ottoman lake, were the spiritual successors to the man standing on this prow. The massive Ottoman shipyards in Gallipoli and later in Constantinople were grander, more sophisticated versions of this very scene in Izmir. The first Turkish navy, born from the vision of one man, was the direct ancestor of one of the most formidable naval powers the world has ever known. So as we watch Keykubad, lost in his thoughts, staring out at his destiny, we are witnessing more than just the construction of a few wooden ships. We are at a pivotal turning point in history. The sounds of this harbor are the overture to a new era of naval warfare and exploration. The land-bound Turks are learning to walk on water. The conquest of the sea has begun, and the world will never be the same. The spirit of Keykubad, the first Turkish admiral, would sail on through the centuries, carried on the winds of change that first filled the sails sown in this very port. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story of ambition and the birth of a naval power as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into the depths of history. See you next time.